This is lesson 8.4, which is about rate of change. So the rate of change is a rate that describes how one quantity changes in relation to another quantity. We can find rate of change by using this formula, the change in y over the change in x. Rates of change can be positive, negative, or zero, and we need to write them as a unit rate. So that's a lot of words, but when we put it to use, you'll see how this works. So finding rate of change from a graph. The graph shows Jared's quiz scores for the first 5 weeks after he joined a study group. Find the rate of change from week 2 to week 5. So an important piece of information we're given is that we need to find the rate of change from week 2 to week 5. So all I'm going to be using is week 2 and week 5. That's going to give me all the data that I need to find the rate of change. So we find rate of change by doing the change in y, I'm going to write that as CHY, over the change in x. Our y values are our quiz scores, and our x values are our number of weeks. So I need to find the change in y first. Change is the difference. So I'm going to take the larger value, so I have 89%, because that's week 5, minus 76%, because that was week 2. And then the change in x, well, I started with week 5, minus 2, that's weeks. And then I'm going to solve this. So 89% minus 76% is 13%. And then 5 weeks minus 2 weeks is 3 weeks. So this gives us the change over 3 weeks, but we need to write rate of change as a unit rate. So 1 week. I'm going to divide both of these by 3 so that I get 1 week as my denominator. And 13% divided by 3 is 4 1/3%. What this means is that he increased his score by 4 1/3% each week. So each week his score went up by 4 1/3%. That is our rate of change. This one is a table. So we're going to find the rate of change using the table. Natalia is selling cookies. The table shows the relationship between the number of hours spent selling and the number of cookies that remain. Find the rate of change, and then we're going to interpret its meaning. This one doesn't tell us specific hours or specific cookies to find the rate of change with, so I'm just going to use these first 2 ordered pairs in my table. So I'm going to use 0 and 100 and 3 and 40. So after 0 hours, she still has 100 cookies. After 3 hours, she has 40 cookies left. I'm going to start by setting this up as change of y over change in x, because that's how we find the rate of change. We're finding the cookies sold for every hour. Cookies over hours. I need to find the change in y, which is my cookies. So I'm going to start by just using those 2 y values, and I'm going to find that difference. So I'm going to take 100 minus 40. Then I'm going to find the change in x using those same pairs, and I have 0 minus 3. That's the difference between those first 2. 100 minus 40 is 60. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. To write this as a unit rate, 60 divided by negative 3 is negative 20. So what this means, I know it's negative and that seems funky, but she's getting rid of cookies each hour, right? She's selling her cookies. There's less cookies after a longer amount of time. So each hour, she sold 20 cookies. Again, it's negative because she's getting rid of cookies. The amount of cookies are going down. And then this one is comparing rates of change. So the table shows the yearly incomes of two families. Compare the rates of change from 2004 to 2007 for the two families. So we're given two sets of information, and we're also given that we need to find the rate of change from 2004 to 2007. So I'm going to start with the Millers. Again, we need to do change in Y over change in X. So our X values are going to be our years, and our Y value is going to be the income. So change in Y, and we're looking from 2004 to 2007. So I start with my Y values. We have 55,000 minus 49,000. And we have, for our X values, the year 2007 minus the year 2004. So when we solve that, we get $6,000 over 3 years. We need to write that as a unit rate, so figuring out how much money for 1 year. So I divide both by 3, and I get $2,000 for 1 year. What that means then is that each year their income is increasing by $2,000. Then we have the Kings, the King family. Again, we're going to use change in Y over change in X. So their incomes, we have 57,000 minus 50,000. Again, I'm just taking that difference between the years. And then our X values are our years, so we have 2007 minus 2004. When we solve that, we get $7,000 over 3 years. We need to change that to a unit rate. So I divide both by 3, and I get $2,333.33 for 1 year. So the King family is increasing their salary by $2,333.33 per year. So it's asking us to compare. When we compare these, we could say that the King's income increased by $333 more each year than the Millers. The King family is increasing their income more each year. And then the last thing is looking at graphs and telling whether the rate of change is positive, negative, or 0. So if the rate of change is positive, the graph is going to be going upward. There's going to be an increase. If the rate of change is negative, the line's going to be going down, right? There's going to be a decrease. And if the rate of change is 0, well, your line's just going to stay consistent. There's going to be no change. It's not going up, it's not going down. The rate of change is 0.